Humpy Douglas.
Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Humpy Douglas Gaming. This is KSP Episode 2, Grating the Cheese. This is a continuation of Episode 1, the TCB Communications Network. So if you haven't seen that one yet, go ahead and click the link and go watch that video and then come back to this one. And when you're ready, we'll jump right into it. Alright, let's go! So I've received what looks to be like pretty professionally done technical diagrams to outline this mission. So let's go ahead and read over those. First off, we have the mission team. We've got the mission planner, Dr. Kerner von Rong. Okay, he's the head scientist here at the KSC, so I see great things for this mission. Let's take a look at his credentials. He's got a PhD in splody rockets. It's pretty impressive. A master's degree in pewter reboats. Okay. A Bachelor of Science in pixelated Velcro dynamics. That's the most important piece right there. Then at Mission Control, we've got myself, Humpy Douglas. Now my credentials aren't as impressive as his, but they bring a lot to the team here. I am the janitor here at the KSC. I climbed the stairs twice today, which is personal record. And I also ate a whole pizza once. So, we got great things ahead of us here. So what is this mission we're doing? Well, the mission's name is called Grating the Cheese. What does that entail? Well, we are going to change the orbital, nice, the orbital period of the 3 cheese blend satellites from 6 hours to 5 hours, 59 minutes, and 9.4 seconds. But why are we doing this exactly? Well, it has to do with the sidereal day versus the solar day. What is that? Well, I'll explain it. So what is a sidereal day? Well, think of a sidereal day as the time it takes a planet to rotate one full 360-degree rotation. On Kerbin, a sidereal day is 5 hours, 59 minutes, 9.4 seconds. I'll show you a really sophisticated technical diagram of this right here. So as you can see from this super detailed technical drawing here, that the sidereal day is the time it takes the planet to rotate fully around to where the person is back in that exact same spot where he was the day before. So how is that different from a solar day? Well, a solar day is the time it takes a planet to rotate so that the sun is in the same position in the sky as the previous day. On Kerbin, this is 6 hours because the planet has to rotate just a tad longer than the sidereal day due to the movement along its orbit. And we'll show you a technical drawing of that. So let's take a look at this technical drawing here. So we've got Kerbin, which is the name of the sun in the Kerbin system. We've got day 1 down here on Kerbin, we'll say starts at noon. So as the sidereal day passes, the planet has moved along its orbit just a bit. But now look, the flag after one sidereal day isn't directly beneath Kerbin. So it's not technically noon according to the clock. So the planet has to spin just a tad more than the sidereal day to get that flag directly under Kerbin again for a full solar day. So what exactly is the problem? Well, Kerbin rotates once every 5 hours, 59 minutes, 9.4 seconds. The satellites we put up in episode 1 go around their orbit once every 6 hours. So this means that for each Kerbin rotation, the satellites don't go fully round. They are about 51 seconds behind, and over time, that's going to cause them to drift further and further behind because they're not making a full rotation every time Kerbin does. And you can see that in this next super technical drawing. In this drawing, we've got the KSC here and the stationary satellite that's supposed to be above it. Well, with each sidereal day that passes, that satellite doesn't go fully around. It only goes 5 hours, 59 minutes, and 9.4 seconds around. That means each day it falls behind about 51 seconds. And as each sidereal rotation happens, it falls behind another 51 seconds and another. So over time it's slowly going to drift. Now that really doesn't matter because of the satellites we put up. They're in a nice equilateral triangle. So as the one directly above the KSC falls behind, the one that's in front of it is going to wind up coming into view of the KSC and basically passing over it as well. So it's going to still have connection. All these satellites are exactly 2 hours apart in their 6-hour orbit. They're all talking to each other. They're all going to talk to the KSC. But if we want to make it so they're truly keo-stationary, we got to adjust this orbit. But why do we have to adjust the orbit? Well, because back in an earlier version of KSP, the sidereal day used to be 6 hours, and the solar day was 6 hours and some odd seconds or whatever it was. Um, but they changed that in a patch a while back. I forget which exact patch it was. I was reading it on the forums, and they probably did this to make it more realistic as far as how Earth rotates. Earth's sidereal day is something like 23 hours, 56 minutes, and some odd seconds, and the solar day is 24 hours. So in order to keep the clock right and everything, they probably adjusted Kerbal to do the same thing, which causes a problem because in the past, everyone just did a 6-hour orbit and we were good. Well, that doesn't cut it anymore. So the solution to the problem is to adjust the orbital period of each satellite from 6 hours down to 5 hours, 59 minutes, 9.4 seconds, which will then match the sidereal day of Kerbin. So each time Kerbin does a full 360-degree rotation, the satellite has done a full 360-degree sweep around the planet, all at the same time. And we can demonstrate that in this really super technical drawing. Now this drawing shows the orbital period of the satellite matching the sidereal day on Kerbin, thus keeping that main satellite directly above the KSC at all time. And we do have what appears to be a mustard stain on our diagram here, and it appears he spelled it turd. It says turd. All right, so what exactly are the mission objectives? Well, number one, we're going to fly each satellite to its periapsis. Definitely not the pineapple sauce. Dr. Von Rong's an idiot. Then we're going to face retrograde, but basically we're going to turn around, so he's kind of right there. Then according to him, we're going to fly the other way until the orbital period is 5 hours, 59 minutes, and 9.4 seconds. Very simple objectives. I think we can do this. So let's go ahead and call this day one. Here's the satellites from episode 1 in the perfect equilateral triangle with the one satellite directly over the KSC. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to warp ahead and show you the drift over time because of that orbital period being off from the sidereal period. Before I do that, I did make a copy of the save game folder so that I can put everything back to day 1 to actually go do the mission. Alright, so 10 days have passed. The drift doesn't seem to be too noticeable yet, but let's just wait a little bit. Alright, we're 20 days in, and as you can see, now there seems to actually be a slight angle there between the KSC and that satellite above it, so that drift seems to be catching up on it now. Alright, so now we're 30 days into this, and you can see that angle is actually starting to get a little steeper there. Here we are at 50 days. It's even more noticeable than it was before. Now we're at day 100, and as you can see, that first satellite has drifted way behind the KSC there, and the one before it is now coming over the horizon and actually making a communications link with the KSC. Okay, so I've restored the game file back to the beginning here, and now we're going to do these burns. I'm going to start with Romano because that one's the closest to the periapsis of the orbits. Then we're going to do Parmesan, and then we're going to do Asiago. Alright, so here we are with the first satellite. First thing we got to do is we got to rotate this around its orbit to the periapsis. Alright, so now that we're here, we're going to point the satellite retrograde. Now I'm going to set the thrust limiter to about 1, and we're going to activate the engine to get ready for this burn. Now, because we set the thrust limiter to 1, you're not going to see a cool little blue like engine plume coming out of there like you did in the first episode. That's because we're trying to keep the engine thrust limited to get down to the 59 minutes and 9.4 seconds and get as close to it as possible. Alright, so I'm going to cut the engine here in a second. There we go. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the thrust to 0 and then deactivate the engine just to make sure we don't have any weird little thrust mishaps by hitting shift or whatever. Then I will put the satellite back in the same orientation it was when we first started, and then I'll do the other 2 satellites. As you can see on this third satellite, it's the only one that I seem to, for whatever reason, have the blinking safety lights on. Adds a cool little, effect to it. That's kind of a nifty little thing. I'll have to go back to the other 2 later and turn them on. So here we are, back at mission control. We've successfully changed the orbital period of all 3 satellites. We've still got a nice equilateral triangle. If you look up in the left-hand corner, you can see that I've already warped it out 100 days to show you that now that the sidereal day on Kerbin is the same as the orbital period of the satellites, there's absolutely 0 drift now in these satellites. So these satellites are going to stay perfectly keo-stationary over time. And so I guess you can say we've successfully grated the cheese. So there you are. I hope you enjoyed this video, and feel free to leave me a comment, follow my channel. Oh, and I'm going to have to talk to whoever is in charge of these technical diagrams for this mission, because it really looks like it was written by a 3-year-old. So thanks for watching. It says turd.